Welcome to Building Pathways to Healthy Minds. I am your host, Priscilla Bagley, and today I sat down with a good friend and fellow teacher, Meghan Gregory. She is a wonderful teacher that I constantly get to see her work in action, and it's lovely. We talk about how to cultivate nurturing classrooms and how that also is incorporated in cultivating nurturing homes. That sometimes they're two sides to the same coin. We talk about classroom jobs, community, how to have kids feel invested and safe, and they trust this place that they're going to every day. She gave us really practical tips on how to do that. It was just a joy talking to a teacher who loves what they're doing. So grab some coffee, and I hope you enjoy the ride. I am here with a very special friend, Meghan Gregory. We actually teach together at the same school, and I just have admired her so much from everything I've seen. So welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today.
It's an honor. Okay, so how long kind of total have you been teaching?
So I taught 3 years in a Title I district right out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my own family. I have 3 children, and they're 17, 14, 9 are my kids' ages. And so once my youngest went back to kindergarten, I knew that I wanted to go back. I've always taught kindergarten, that I tell everybody they are my people. So I can't imagine teaching anything more than really first grade. I think my people are kind of 4s and 5s and 6 and 7-year-olds. I just enjoy my time with them. I love their enthusiasm for life. I love their genuine kindness. And you get to witness kiddos who've never held a pencil or used scissors and don't know how to open up a blue bottle. Suddenly at the end of the year, they're reading and writing.
Yeah, it's a very special age.
Yeah, it definitely is. I feel like being a mother has made me a better teacher, and being a teacher has made me a better mother. So I think they go hand in hand.
And I think that's where we're going to go in this podcast. A line that I saw this week that really stuck out to me was, it said, classrooms and homes are basically two sides of the same ecosystem. And so the same concepts that we're going to talk about today about building healthy classrooms are also things, if you're a caregiver, if you're a parent, you can implement these into your home. And I did a webinar for child builders. I did 2, actually. I did a creating nurturing homes, and then I did a creating nurturing classrooms webinar. And we used a lot of the same ideas and concepts like empathy and those kinds of things in both of those places. So, but let's jump into the first question that I had for you, which was, when you think about a healthy classroom or a healthy home, what comes to mind? What does that look like?
Well, kind of right off the bat, I think of, and this is just kind of the person that I am too, is I am a smiley, I'm loud, I'm happy. That's the first thing you see, and that's just the surface, but if you dig down a little bit deeper, I think you see collaboration. You see people trusting each other. You see working together. You see forgiveness. You see conflict. I think that conflict is a healthy thing. It can be a healthy thing to have. So when you've got that conflict, it's how do you react to that conflict? How do you address the conflict? How do you speak to one another? So I think that a healthy classroom and home has all of those things. But when you go in there, you feel good. You feel good. It feels like home. So in both of those, when you walk, at the end of the day, I can't wait to walk into my home. But in the beginning of the day, I can't wait to walk into my classroom. And I want all of my children, my personal children, to feel that way when they come home. I want home to be a place that they can just go, take a deep breath. But I want my children who I teach, I want them to be excited, and for my classroom to also be a place that they can come in, shrug their backpack off and go, okay, let's get started. We actually have the saying in my classroom, but I always tell the children, does it have to be perfect? And they'll say back to me, no. Say, but what does it have to be? And they all say, my best.
I love that.
So I want all my children to know, my personal and my students, that making mistakes is okay.
Yes.
It's okay, and it's okay not to be perfect. But we do need to put our best foot forward, our best effort, knowing that we may fall short sometimes, and that's okay.
Right.
I have a lot of children who come in who do not want to take risks. I don't want to try to sound out that word because I may be wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and that leads us into life.
It does.
I think for me, sometimes I was worried I wouldn't be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to take the risk. And it has stopped me so often where I look back and I go, oh, I wish I had
Still stop you sometimes today.
It does.
Yes, and here.
It does. And I say, I wish I had just put myself out there, like had been braver.
Yeah.
And so when we let kids take risks, fail sometimes, but say, that's okay. I'm just so glad you tried.
Yeah.
Like that's cultivating a healthy classroom to say, take risks, fall here.
Exactly.
You're safe.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Love it. Love it. So do you think emotional safety, kind of where, you know, what we were just talking about, all those things, feeling safe, having trust, is that as important as the academics?
Oh, certainly. Absolutely. I feel like if a child comes into my classroom and does not feel emotionally safe, that they are not going to even be able to start with the academics.
Yeah.
I think that's the one of the biggest things. I love building relationships with my students. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, am I a little bit too loving towards my students? Mm-hmm. That parents, if there are people walking down the hallway, they're thinking, what's going on? That you are so loved. You are so loved. And I just want them all to know that. They walk in my room in the day, I am so glad that you are here. Even if you're not feeling it completely that day.
Right. Yeah.
I don't shy away from telling my students because I do. I love them. This is why I have the job.
You know, I think that is part of what makes our classrooms work, is that they feel the love when they walk in here. I tried to, at the beginning of the year, talk about community, that we're all a community in this classroom and we each have a special part. There's a curriculum that we do for child builders called Build to Nurture. That is a huge piece of it, is we're all a piece of the community and we're all parts of the same body. And we feel it when somebody's not there. Are there any other little practical pieces to your classroom that you try to set up from day one that just creates that emotional safety, community, that you can think of?
Well, in my classroom, and I know this is a very personal thing because I've talked to lots of different teachers, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I did not do this when I first started teaching, was that everybody had a classroom job. Somebody is my bell holder, that they take the bell out, and it changes every week. And somebody's the line leader, the coveted line leader spot, and somebody carries my paramedic bag and the door opener. But from the beginning, everybody has a job and they all feel important, that they have this responsibility. One of my jobs is a substitute. And so when somebody's out, then that person has to take that job. And sometimes they take, 2 or 3 jobs that lies out. Sure. And it teaches responsibility. It's something they have to look at when they come in the morning, but also it gives them purpose. It takes a little bit of practice in the beginning.
Yeah.
And each person then has to know their job. But one is like the weather reporter, which goes on with my morning meeting. And it was kind of a lot for me when we first started. But now the kids are really responsible, and the kids will be like, hey, so-and-so, you forgot this. They kind of take that responsibility on.
It's nice. We work together just like a family. We all work together.
Yep. And so we all have to work together for this classroom to work. Keeps them having ownership.
Absolutely. That's their classroom.
Yep.
You mentioned a little while ago about morning meetings. Do you do that every day? And what does that look like?
I love having morning meetings. I do it every morning, and it's kind of evolved since the beginning of my teaching. But it kind of has fused between like a calendar time and morning message time. We are in a private Christian school. Every single day I say, let's start our day out right with a prayer. And I mentioned my job leaders. So I have somebody who comes up as our prayer leader. Then we have a Bible story, and then we do a little bit of calendar as well, even though we end with a song, and that has to do with something we're learning about right now.
Something we talk a lot about in Build to Nurture as well is that having classroom songs, having classroom identities creates community.
Yes, it sure does.
You feel like, oh, that's a song I know.
Exactly.
That's part of my classroom.
Well, and what's really interesting is as we walk down the hall at the end of the day at dismissal, is I'm always singing. Mm-hmm. And my classroom is known for singing. And I do not have a wonderful singing voice, but that's why I teach kindergarten, because they don't care. And what I love is when former students, their line joins up with ours as we're all walking out the building at the end of the day, and all my former students start singing those songs as well. It's pretty neat. And I love that part of the day.
you're even feeling like you're part of the community and you're in third grade still.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my goodness, that takes me back. I love that so much.
And it warms my heart just to see that they remember it. Or some that will be like, "Oh, I do remember that song," and you can see their little faces light up, and they feel like they're big too because they were there, they went there, and they've done it. So yeah, so I love my morning meeting, and then it kind of extends throughout to the end of the day.
How do you manage because we all have them in classrooms,
Yeah.
the behavior moments where things are not going the way you want them to, or there's big emotions. How do you handle that?
Well, I think that this is where being a mother has really helped me. I realize that in the moment, there's nothing you could really say or do except for, and I do this now. I did it with my own children, just to sit and to hold. My children are young enough that I can hold them. A lot of times they'll be in my lap and hold them and say, "You're loved. You're okay. You're loved." And I repeat it over and over and over again until they are okay. Now that's what their emotions are, so that they're, crying or not being able to calm down. When I've got the kids that crawl under the tables and won't come out, again, you just sit, get on their level. Get on their level, let them know, "I see you, I hear you, I understand that this is happening. I see that you are feeling this, and this, and this. How can I help you? What can I do to help you?" Mostly these kids know that I love them.
Yeah.
And then it helps too that I have an assistant in my classroom who can take over for the rest of the class. I know that it's a lot different when you have a classroom of 22 students and you're by yourself.
And no matter how many kids you have, when they know like exactly what you said, they are loved there. We are on the same side. Because what empathy does is put you on the same side.
Right.
Like I've had that same thing. Or like you talk about, I had a son who had big emotions. I'm going to sit with you through this.
Yeah.
And there's a book that I love. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's a kid's book called The Rabbit Listened. So it's about Taylor, who something sad happens to him. He's building blocks. They all fall. And all these other animals come to try to fix it. Hey, let's just build it again. Or why don't we talk about it? And Taylor doesn't want to do any of that. And so the rabbit comes. And the rabbit sits beside Taylor and just listens. The rabbit doesn't say anything until Taylor's ready. And he tells the rabbit, all the things, has big emotions. And then at the end, the rabbit's just been sitting there the whole time. And Taylor's ready to rebuild it. And we talk to our daughter sometimes and say, "Do you want us to just be the rabbit right now?
Right.
Can I just hold you?"
I think that's where the difference comes between two, is teaching those skills when there's calmness. You teach those skills of how to get through these when you're perfectly calm and you're in a state where you're able to learn, versus trying to fix it when you're in the middle of the trouble, because it's not gonna work then. There's a lot of times that I go to my husband and I just need somebody to listen to me. I don't need it fixed. I just need somebody to listen. I think sometimes our kids just want to be heard. They just want somebody to listen to them and to love on them. They don't really need a fix right then.
I have a little spot in my room called a cool down spot. And I showed them how to use it from the very beginning. And they just know that's a place. And I've used it quite a few times this year when one student in particular just has very big emotions. And she just needs a minute to get a drink, to sit there, to squeeze something. And I tell her, I get it. Like, yeah, I need that too sometimes.
And we all need a reset sometimes. So it's not just children.
I kind of want us to have a few practical takeaways for parents. And a lot of the things we talked about today, a cool down spot. I did that as a parent, sitting with your child when they're having big emotions. But I want us to maybe have, if there was one strategy that you just have found as kind of this magical strategy for you that teachers or parents could immediately apply in their classroom that would help with all these things, what would that be?
Okay, so it's a little goofy sounding, and maybe not everybody would be able to implement this. But I think that for children, a lot of transitions are hard for them, especially within the classroom. So pretty much every transition I have, there's a psalm, and the kids have learned them from the beginning of the year. That's just an easy way for transitioning, and it just makes transition time fun. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned from the beginning of teaching to now is just that transitions matter. So
I found that too as a parent. even more so as a teacher, that I needed to give warnings at transition, which is kind of what the song did.
It is.
It's a little warning that says we're about to go back to our seats or we're about to stand up. With my daughter, I would a lot of times get so frustrated because you're in the moment and you're like, now we need to walk out. And I've learned I have to give a little bit of direction.
Most certainly.
And I have to be like, okay, look in my eyes, in 2 minutes, we're going to have to do this.
Oh, and there's another one. And this is funny, but my children love it, is I keep scented chapstick, and they're my smelly dots. And when all the children are doing a great job with something, like we've all gotten in line really quietly, I'll say, hands on top, and they'll put their hand on top, and I go through and I rub a little dot of it on the top of their hand, and then they smell it. And they love it. Yeah, it's clear and it wears off after a little while, and then we can do it again. And I have all different scents, and the kids are like, what scent is it? And they try to figure out what scent it is. And so, yeah, so that's my smelly dots. Now, of course, you have to watch out for allergies in your classroom. Right. So that one just came to my mind.
I love it. There was one thing you could leave. What would that be? What would be your tip?
First thing I would say is love yourself and give yourself grace. And if you can remember to do that and just hug and love on your kids, you are not going to overlove your child. And do it with a song.
I love it.
And it's okay for you to make mistakes. And it's okay for you to admit those mistakes to your kids as they grow up. And it's what you do learning from those mistakes. And they'll see it. Give them all your love. They grow up way too fast. I have a senior this year. So, yeah, they grow up super, super fast.
Well, I loved having you. That was amazing.
Yay. You too, Priscilla.
Come back soon.
I sure will.
Sitting down with Meghan just reminded me of those teachers you talk to who love what they're doing, who just truly love it. It gave me such joy to have that conversation. I hope it did for you too. I hope you have practical tools that you can incorporate into your house or your classroom or your kids' classrooms. I certainly had fun. I was reminded of so many amazing strategies for when we can talk to our kids about big emotions and when they're going through life. I hope it was a great conversation for you too. And you can always leave us comments or questions. We love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Until then, until our next episode, stand strong, stay safe. I'll see you next time.